Like I'm supposed to do the intro. It's so
You
weird.
you should do. We are introing right now. Do you want to just take it? I think you just take it. What do you got?
Welcome to the next episode of the Any Given Day Touch the Flame podcast with me.
Woo!
I'm not your host. I'm your guest, Coach G, Giovani Urrutia. And today we're going to be talking about, well, I don't like to say touch the flame. I completely understand the adage, but in my coaching experience, what I've said is touch the sun or get close to the sun.
Ooh, I like that. All right. What's the differentiation in your mind?
I think they're the same. I think it's just ketchup and mustard. You know, some people say catsup. It's the same thing.
Yeah, cat soup. Are you a ketchup or a mustard guy?
Mustard all the way.
Wow. Man, look at us. You're the sun, I'm the flame. You're mustard, I'm ketchup. Like, we just need barbecue sauce up in here and we'll be doing all right.
Yeah. Okay, what kind of barbecue sauce? Because you got Kansas City, you've got the mustard base, you've got Texas style.
I'm good with Kansas City, Texas style, mustard base. Man, anything. I'm not a Carolina barbecue guy. So like that vinegary situation, that's not my situation. Like I'll do it. Don't get me wrong, but it's not going to be my go-to.
It's not my go-to, but with pork, for me, great. But I am a spicy dude.
Okay.
So,
and you're not just talking about taste either. That's your personality.
I think so. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Maybe today we're touching the hot sauce. Maybe that's where we're going with this.
Touch the hot sauce. Drink the hot sauce.
See, you leveled up already. I love it. Dude, this podcast just got twice as good just from that little bit of Giovanni sprinkle right in there.
Great, man.
Dude, so speaking of touch the sun, I look at the first kind of experience for a lot of us, or our first temptation, gravitation, maybe is a good word, toward the sun as whatever pulled us into service. So I don't know anything, which is crazy. It's crazy. Like, I feel like I'm sitting on here so far with a lot of friends and I realize how little I know about them, which means maybe I need to start asking better questions.
That's great, man. Oh,
right?
Now that you bring that up, I mean, how many of our friends who work in a, let's say, veteran-centric community don't know the origin story of their friends?
I would venture to guess
so many
the
assumptions
majority.
that we make.
There really is. So I want to assume nothing and consume everything. So can you give us your take on what drew you?
I'm so glad you brought, touching the sun, touching the flame. I think, there's something to that as far as my story coming up. I'm not going to say that, I came from nothing and I had to scrape for every morsel of food. I'm not like that. No, my parents worked very hard in Northeast Ohio, which if you know Northeast Ohio, dead center, smack dab, Rust Belt. Bad. They suffered, Youngstown, Ohio is where I'm from. And in 10 years, during this 10-year period that they evaluated, they lost 60,000 people in that 10 years, which doesn't sound like a lot when you're comparing it to a major metropolitan area, but it didn't have a lot of people when I was being raised there. If you go there today, by comparison to when I grew up, and I'm sure in the 60s and 70s when it was booming, it's a ghost town. And I'm not denigrating. I know there's probably going to be somebody listening to this that's from that area, and I think they understand what I'm talking about. Youngstown is not what I grew up with, and that adage, that aphorism, you can't go home again, certainly true. So anyway, I bring that up because there wasn't a lot of, I know this now as coming up on 40, there wasn't a lot of opportunity for a kid like me. A lot of the jobs were very, cookie cutter, like the shoe store. I think it was called Shoe Circus, which is kind of like Payless.
Yeah.
Payless Footwear, or Shoe Carnival. Arby's, Taco Bell, Denny's.
All the classics.
Subway. Yeah, right. That was your hope for a college job, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then you had your smattering of local businesses that were also restaurants. There wasn't industry really in Youngstown. So anyway, I bring that up because I saw the trajectory of my life and where it was heading, and I didn't like it in high school. I saw my peer group of friends who I was with, some of them great guys, some of them not so great guys, and looking back. And I'm glad that I leaned towards, let's say, the more great guys as far as attitude and morals, and didn't like that if I had gone to college, like most of the kids that were in Youngstown and just most of the population, I would have coasted through. Just like I coasted through high school. Because when I was coming up in high school, again, hindsight, I was that kid that my whole family was, hey, you're so smart, you're so smart, you're so smart. And forgot to couple with, hey, you're only as smart as the work that you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just learned, what I learned was I don't have to work hard in high school. And I saw that I had the prescience, thank goodness, that if I kept up that trajectory, I would have coasted through every aspect of my life. I needed to make a change. So I remember this was, shortly after 2003, I want to say, somewhere around that time period, where the recruiters were coming to the high school. And, you would see the Navy, they would all come separately. So the Navy would come, and then you'd see a smattering of kids going to hang out with those recruiters, asking questions. You see the Air Force. I don't think I ever saw the Coast Guard. You saw the Army. And respective of the quantity of branch, you would see the respective amount of people going. Like, so more people went to the Air Force desk, more people went to the Navy desk, 2 people went to the Marine Corps desk, and I was one of them, right? Because they got me. They're like, you can't hang. Nobody could hang. That's why. No, so they got me with that whole thing.
Damn, dude, you are the 3rd Marine on this podcast and the 3rd one to cite a very similar situation of like, they didn't lower the bar to accommodate you. They raised it to see if you were willing to reach for it.
But that's all smoke and mirrors, dude.
Yeah, but it's genius.
It is genius. Well, because the Marine Corps, better than any branch, is able to take whatever principle or whatever law that is driving the way the service is structured and make it their own. So, for example, as you know, they get their budget from the Navy, so it's not a very big budget. And because of that, they rely a lot on their own internal structures and education systems, train-the-trainer models to kind of upskill people. Do I think that's always functional? No. I think there are some mistakes, but what are they doing? They're making do. And they're doing their best. And they almost take a sick pride in it.
They do.
They do take a sick pride in it. Dude, I remember the kit that I was using in theater compared to what the Army and the Air Force had. It's fucking ridiculous. Anybody listening as a Marine will remember, especially if you're already the Angra 39. In the TM, it says for troubleshooting, the first thing you should need to do is conduct a drop test, which is drop it from a height of like 3 or 4 feet. There are many times, and anybody who's handled that device, it's a communication device. It's like using wires. There are many times where I just chucked it. I just threw it because I was pissed off at it and it would fucking work. And that's the kind of shit the Marine Corps was using at the time. So anyway, I knew that as part of my identity, I needed a massive change. I saw the Navy, the Air Force, the Army as almost coddling because they were trying to like get as many people through the door. And something about the Marine Corps, to your point, so it connected, it resonated with me on a deeper level, which functional or not, they're collecting a bunch of fucked up, insecure people, I think, and get them in a room, so to speak. And thankfully, I think it was the right choice. I mean, there was definitely some things that, no one was going into the Marine Corps during that era because they were looking for an easy time, right? Some things were hard for sure, but it's the Marines. Nobody was ever like, oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be easy. But, that's something that I think about often now is this notion of when we're kids and you're growing up, this call of adventure. The Harry Potter, the Indiana Jones, there's an allure there where it seems like it's fun, but they're never going to show you, hey, you got diarrhea now.
Yeah.
Oh. They're never going to show you, hey, you didn't get to eat today. Hey, someone's launching mortars over here. Like, they don't show you the nasty shit. So there was that element too, that ignorance, I guess, is what I'm trying to bring up coming up. But that was good. The ignorance was good in that case because had I known too much, I'm going to the Navy table.
Yeah. No, I think the ignorance serves you well. And I think even for me, like I got out, I had a break in service and I went back in after 3 years, right back to the exact same spot. And I remember when I was going back in, I thought to myself, okay, I need to be honest about what this looks like. I remember that rucking sucks. I remember that jumping out of airplanes sucks. I remember that things like not eating, not sleeping, like some of this sucks. But with an honest perspective, the good still outweighs the bad. But if I was on the other side of it and I was going in and I knew how bad some of those things sucked, but I hadn't yet felt how good the good things were, I probably would not have signed up.
That's a good point you bring up. I think about this with my son and American football. As you know, I worked past tense. A lot with American football athletes, elite level, and I know too much now about how the sausage is made specific to brain health and concussion prevention. And it's not like I had my son in football. He's not going in. And a big reason for that is because of the risk. I know too much.
We're in a similar situation. My kiddo, he's football obsessed. He plays a lot of sports. He also loves hockey, which we do let him play, but he's football obsessed. And I'm like, we might let him do flag. but I don't think we'll ever have him play tackle football. And part of it too is that we're getting on a tangent, but it's such a coach's game, right? Like there's a lot of like kids just standing around, and then like you're getting smoked, and then you're doing nothing while the coach is doing plays and all of this static. And I think he would lose his mind. I think he'd be like, where's the action? Let's roll. Like he just sees what's on TV. He forgets about all that time between
the
plays.
Adventure.
Yeah,
the whole adventure.
You see, it's all about the adventure. Like, dude, so speaking of adventure, do you have any highlights or lowlights of adventure or experiences from that time that you served as a Marine? And I know this could be every day that you write a book on this, but you're gonna have to pick a few.
I'm gonna tell you a story that I've many people, the right people know, but I've always this is the perfect format for it because it doesn't feel like no one's ever gonna write a movie about this, but it is a relevant story. So during my second deployment in Iraq, this was driving me fucking crazy. We were deployed to Al-Assad, which at the time, statistically speaking, was the safest place in Iraq. And anyone have you ever seen Generation Kill? So do you remember Captain America?
Yeah.
So Captain America, for those listening, was the real person. But I gotta be honest, like nobody wants that commander. Very paranoid, very hypervigilant and to a dysfunctional degree, constantly thinking the enemy is around the corner and acts accordingly and treats his men accordingly as well. So this is a man that was in charge of us, not that guy specifically, but same attitude. Now keep in mind that was during the invasion. This was OIF 8. It was late and Al-Assad. So super safe, but this dude was still acting like the enemy combatants were right around the corner, even though that was not the case. That was not reality. It was very far from the reality. So anyway, I bring this up because every Friday, so this is how he's acting, but every Friday we had staff NCO and officer movie night. That's fine. Except he would have NCOs and below bring food for the staff NO, which I couldn't fucking stand.
Didn't Simon Sinek write a book about the opposite scenario?
Yeah. Well, technically, yes, leaders eat last. The kids would eat the chow at the chow hall and then bring the chow to the staff NO.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, technically, right? But
yeah.
No, the hard disagreement I had there, the big beef I had was personal servitude. If you are able to obtain X thing yourself, you should, especially if it's for you specifically, not the mission, not your unit, but for you. So the food thing drove me crazy and it pissed me off. And what they were doing, and I remember the platoon sergeant, they were like rotating through who would actually be responsible for that. So I was waiting for my turn. So anyway, when I did that, when I got the responsibility, at this point I was mid-grade and I was an E5. And I think I wasn't a platoon sergeant yet. I can't remember. Anyway, I'm in charge of like the 15 E3s and below or whatever. So I told them to get nothing but rice and jalapenos. And a lot of them were uncomfortable with that, but that's what they did. And I knew what would happen. And this was I was the fucking golden boy, dude. This was prior to this. I was the CO fucking loved me. I don't know why. I couldn't stand the dude, but he absolutely loved me. And the senior enlisted didn't like that he liked me so much. I don't know where his head was at. But anyway, they didn't fucking like that at all. They didn't say shit, but I knew they were going to try again. So the next week happens again. Same thing. This time they pull me, my gunny pulls me in and he starts talking to me. He just got his ass chewed out by the master sergeant, blah, blah, blah. I could see that there was a lot of friction. And I'm like, well, gunny, I'm just going to request mast if they want me to do that again. And I think maybe even I pushed it further than that. I was like, if they do it again with any Marine, I'm going to request mast. And I burned a lot. I was up for some kind of award. I can't remember, but I burned a ton of goodwill and a ton of bridges through senior leadership there. I will say this, and the thing I'm proud of, the men fucking love me for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess I bring that up as a high moment because, I don't have a Bronze Star. I don't have a Silver Star or anything like that. And part of it is because of the bridges I burned there. Like I burned a lot of goodwill, and not everything can be measured. And I don't think everything should be measured with chest candy. And that's something I'm very proud of. But how do you articulate that in an elegant way?
I mean, that's such a great example of leading in all directions, right? Like you're basically leading up. Whether or not that they took that to heart, I guarantee they haven't forgot it. and obviously for the men, I don't want to say below you, the men that were under your charge, so to speak, like they appreciated that. And I think too many people don't realize that that's part of what makes a leader, is providing some top cover to the folks beneath you who don't have that degree of power to flex, right? Like they had nothing to flex. You had just enough to flex to piss somebody off and hopefully teach a lesson in the process.
Well, yeah. Even if I didn't, doing nothing would have been a lesson, right?
Yeah.
Doing what they asked me to would have been a lesson. So,
100%.
and what am I teaching my men then? Especially, we got to think legacy, and what are you teaching the future leaders? I said this on the Softly podcast recently. There's a lot of lessons learned. Some of the best leadership examples I've seen has been in the Marine Corps, and some of the worst. And you got to learn. The good leader learns from both.
Yeah, without a doubt. And Marine Dave Pedersen was just on the podcast, and he said something absurdly similar. So it just shows too that the power of when you can step away enough from a situation to actually recognize the value in it, right? Because a lot of people just compliant. Oh, I just went, I got the food, I brought it, never thought twice about it. Didn't necessarily think about the lesson of refusing to participate, right? Like super powerful.
Dude, it's like, why are we there?
Yeah.
I'm in Iraq right now. Really? This is what we're doing? You're going to make this a deployment even more of a joke? Come on.
Yeah, it's one thing if you're in the talk working on, a plan for a mission set and your guys are grabbing you chow because you can't get out. Like that's
exactly my point. This was for movie night.
Yeah,
that's what pissed me off about it. It was for welfare. It wasn't for mission efficacy.
Yeah, it's like Iverson would say practice. What are we talking about? Talk about practice.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this was for fucking practice, and it wasn't even fucking. It was like fundamental shit.
Yeah. It was film. It was film room.
Yeah. So that's a big high for me. And then I guess very much related to that, and to your point, the men who served who were under my care, so to speak. I was made platoon sergeant, as I alluded to later, for a different unit, and one of my men came with me from my old unit, and I overheard. And this is something I think about all the time. What are people saying about you when you're not in the room? I overheard somebody just a couple years younger than me say Giovani, or coach, or no, not coach. Oh my goodness. Sergeant Urrutia is my hero. This is a grown man saying this.
Yeah.
That was like, oh, okay. That's why I did that.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and by the way, that's somebody who not only learned from you, now someone's going to learn from them. It kind of changes the trajectory of where things are going from a leadership perspective within the unit.
Yeah. So that was a high in the military.
Heck yeah. So how many years were you in before you got out?
Just 4.5. Sometimes I'm sure I'm not the only one saying this. Like, I think about this all the time, particularly because I work with military so often. But I hate saying this, did I do enough?
It's only because you work with military so often. Like, we continue to be in places where comparatively we're like, oh wow, like that guy did more, that guy's stronger, that guy served longer, he got shot up, he has these, this chest candy, whatever it is. As soon as we zoom out a little bit and start, not that we should compare ourselves to anybody, but if you do and you start looking at the general population, that's when you start to realize like, oh, okay, like I'm not at the bottom of this pool. I'm actually at the top of this much bigger pool.
Oh, sure. And then, comparison is a thief of joy. I mean, even at my former place of employment, Exos, I realize now looking back, like, dude, that's not the real world. I was constantly surrounded with the top 1%. One of my favorite people there, Lee, has 2 Bentleys. Two.
Like, he's got a backup Bentley.
Yeah, man. It's like, and he had an Earth Roamer. Anybody listening that knows what an Earth Roamer is? Like, really? You had an Earth Roamer and 2 Bentleys? Like, that's fucking crazy. And that's just one dude. That's just one guy. And they were all like that. And then, so in the back of your head, comparison is a thief of joy. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? It's not a good place to be. It took me a while to like rectify that in a healthy way.
Well, by the way, like your time in service didn't end when you left service. And I think that's kind of a good place to go next, even is talking to, like you referred to yourself as coach, like talk through a little bit about that transition into coaching, or if that was even the first place you landed, after you got out.
I love that, man. So I say, when did you get bit by the bug? Right? Because I think coaching, we all kind of have a similar desire to continue serving and help others. And I will say, actually, very much related to my time in the service. I was a pipsqueak in my first couple years. And during my first appointment, I weighed like $150. I was one of those kids that could run forever, but I wasn't strong.
You too, huh? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I put on 13 pounds in a month during my first appointment. And think about that. Like you put 13 pounds of muscle on.
That's
in
a lot of
month.
Rice. That's a lot of rice and jalapenos.
Yeah. And the Marine Corps, for those who aren't familiar, anyone who is familiar understands completely, very physically driven culture.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So there was like a switch that got flipped there with the way people treated me. Night and day difference. And it changed the way I viewed myself. And when I look back, it led to a lot of decisions in a great way that put me in a very healthy place. And I wanted to help other people realize that as well. At first, it was very, like trainer workouts, like really simple, basic stuff. But then I started seeing the underpinnings, which I know you're very familiar with, the psychological influence that the weight room teaches us, so to speak, and the behavior change. And for me, a big part of it, particularly with military, because I have so much, am military. How many of us were taught to just grit through? And then when you encounter reality has other plans for you, meaning you're dealing with pain. Oh, I just got to push through. Sometimes reality doesn't give a shit and it's going to make you stop. And sometimes these people can get to an unhealthy place where they think this is the way things have to be. And one thing I love about physical preparation, strength and conditioning is that there's always a path forward. And for me, I learned through that I could be wrong about my pain. What else am I wrong about? That led to a lot of positive learning and growth about spirit, about knowledge. So it can be for anyone. It is possible for anyone. And if they're wrong about their pain, what else are they wrong about? Think about the lessons that the military teaches us to make, do, adapt, and overcome. It doesn't always have to be like that. And I think that's for me where I draw a lot of fulfillment, is helping people realize. That's the word, capital R, realize. And unless you have a guide to help you walk that path, it can be very difficult to discover that on your own, as I did. I got lucky, but how many people are out there that don't have that tutelage, that don't have that structure, that don't know where to turn? I mean, how many people do we know? I'll just be frank, that drink and smoke, and that's their coping mechanism. And they don't realize there's a whole nother way to do it.
I was just going to say that, like your initial example's a physical one, but this certainly, if we slide over to like the mental side of the house, we see a very, very similar situation where, like, if the only way is through, then at some point reality gets a vote, just like the enemy gets a vote, and you're going to stall. You're going to get stuck, or you might even move backwards. And sometimes the only way to gain perspective that's going to move us forward is with the help of some sort of coaching. It doesn't always have to be somebody who wears the hat, holds the whistle and calls himself coach. But I love that you talk about that the idea of a coach is basically helping somebody find a way forward. And sometimes that means, right, a step back, a lateral step to kind of circumvent something, or, hey, maybe not through, but maybe over, maybe under. Like, this is something I talk a lot about with folks in my current role, to be honest, is like they're constantly hitting roadblocks. They don't really have experience with going through. They more have just experience with getting stuck. They don't really have the mindset of through. And so sometimes it's even harder for them because it's like, hey, there's still a way forward. And they're like, how? The only way is through and I can't get through. And it's like, no. There's still other ways forward. I'll take personally, from a coaching perspective anyway, somebody who's like used to putting their head through the wall. I can better work with that. And I think it's just because I understand it. Because like you, that was me, right? Like,
we talked about this the other day. It's new for me. The opposite is new for me. I'm used to the putting your head through the wall. To have someone be stuck and not know how to get around it. That's new for me. So just for context for everybody, I was working with someone that I could tell this is a story as old as time. Hey, my ACFT, my fitness test, whatever is coming up next month. Let me start now. So I think what happened with this particular individual, I'm guessing, but this is a common story. It exists for a reason. And I think I'm going back to my own experience. If I had to do a trap bar deadlift as part of my test and it's next month, well, let me go in Monday and I'm just going to work up to a heavy single and we'll just try and set a PR every, we'll do 20 singles. That should be good, right? And then, next thing you know, I'm busted. So I think this person, they're lacking some, guidance, some coaching as far as the right way to do that. And that is new for me to help people and which is funny I say that because I've worked with a nonprofit that has people like that. But the adage, there are many roads to Rome, comes to mind frequently when I'm working with these people.
Yeah. Yeah. What I'm always telling folks in my environment is that you do is more important than what you do. Because if they're doing something, they're already in motion and I can guide that.
Yeah.
If they are stagnant and we have to overcome inertia, like we have to actually initiate movement, I can't initiate movement.
I love that we're talking about that because it's more about execution of any plan than it is about the right plan. And I think people get caught up in the X, Y, and Z. And you're talking about philosophy, you're talking about psychology. We're not talking about what's the best exercise.
No.
And that's really what it's about.
Dude, not even half. 90% of the time, the best exercise is the one you'll do, at least for the vast majority of the population. Yes, there's folks who need more targeted stuff. I get it. But I think a lot of people would just do better by moving more.
Well, here's a great example. That particular individual, I forgot. When I first programmed for this person, they had 4 training days that I gave them. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I forgot she has a 19-month-old at home. And I remember what it was like then. It's like, okay, no, we have to work around that. And how discouraging would it be with no, execute.
Yeah.
No, we work around it. I have been there. I know what it's like. So went to 2 days a week.
Yep.
With some conditioning. And to your point, it's about consistency. It's about doing something consistently, not necessarily the best plan. And I'll tell you this, with her resources, it is the best plan.
There you go. Yeah, like the best is a contextual term, right? It's a relative term and it's different for each person. Like I always talk about there's countless idealistic strength and conditioning programs out there collecting a whole lot of dust because they did not account for the person who had to actually execute.
Yeah.
And shit,
I
even my own
say
stuff.
Steroids.
Yeah. Now we know how you put on that 13 pounds in a month. But, even myself for like the AGD team, I'll write something up and I've got a little bit of experience with program design, right? But like I'll write something up, I execute the same training. And sometimes I'm like, what was I thinking with that 4th round? Like, holy shit, like this is totally unrealistic. And sometimes that's kind of the only way to figure that out because it always looks good on paper.
Sure. Yeah. That's actually one of my favorite practices. Do the program the week before they do it. Yep. Just to work out any kinks.
Yep. Yeah, I'll literally, there's times like Megan will just look at me like sideways because I'll like get out of my seat when I'm creating a program and I'll like do a set and I'll like time
100%.
And I'm like, oh, okay, that took me like 37 seconds with this much, and I'm like figuring it out. It's just like, what's this guy doing?
Yeah. Dude, at Exos, like if you were in the PT office, you could hear coaches jumping on because there's that upper office. That's the coach's office. And we would be doing plyos and doing all kinds of stuff, trying to figure stuff out. So yeah, I'm with you there.
Heck yeah. I love that. So what is your training looking like now? Because you talked about like, hey, at first you just started moving some weights.
I love that you said that. Yeah.
That's evolved over time.
Simpler, I would say. To your point, consistency being, let's say, of more importance than the right plan. Good plan executed today versus perfect tomorrow. So lots of, I'll do some kind of, I'm just thinking out loud. Bilateral work paired with unilateral work. What I mean by that is like right now, I'm not going to do it. But if we turn the camera to my squat rack, I've got a bar set up for back squat or front squat. And then usually I'll turn into a rear foot elevated. RDLs, I'm a really good puller. So that's usually on the back burner as far as RDLs and single leg RDLs, especially if you see my Instagram for like, I tend to go big on the RDL type stuff. So that's lower. I've been doing more plyos using my driveway. If you remember my house, I have like an incline. So I've been playing around with not sprinting, bounding up my driveway just to see what it's like, especially with the concrete. So there's some exploration there. In addition to that, as you know, lots of running now and then mountain biking. But all of these things reduced in volume right now as of the past 3 weeks. We talked about it before we started recording. I've been dealing with something that we suspect is I have to get tested at the end of the month. Trigeminal autonomic cephalalgia, which if you're curious, go look it up. It's not fun. On the pain index, this is well researched now at this point, significantly higher than childbirth. And this is something I go through every night.
Holy shit. So
yeah, man, it's pretty gnarly, dude. And my heart goes out. Look, one thing I think veterans are fucking terrible at is comparing trauma. I hate that. We've talked about this years ago. Trauma's not a competition. It could be worse. It could be much worse. Mine's bad, but it could be much worse. I will say this for anybody listening, because this could change someone's life. So I'm going to say it. I read a study, 88% of it was like nearly 3,000 people that reported sinus issues were dealing with migraines. So I'm throwing that out there. What might be a sinus issue for you, what you think is a sinus issue, more than likely is a migraine. And that means neurology. Set that up now. I wish I did. So, and the other two factoids that are relevant. Misdiagnosis of migraines from this particular study takes 3 to 6 years before people were figured out that they had migraines. I just listened to a podcast from a neurologist. I got to read his paper, but in the episode, he was saying, because he got published, 4 to 9 years misdiagnosis for what I just described, the trigeminal autonomic cephalalgia. So
what
don't fuck around.
If you don't mind my asking, what is the path forward right now with that?
Okay, thank you. So I'm seeing neurology. Obviously, imaging has to be part of that to figure. And it's called TACs for short. There are 4 different types, and they all overlap. So we've got to figure out which one I have. And based on my limited knowledge, there's 2 that I could have. So and I'm pretty sure I know the one, which is classic TACs. Anyway. So then we got to figure that out through testing, blood testing, genetic testing, MRI of the trigeminal nerve. So there's 3 medications I could potentially take. One is called sumatriptan, which is for acute episodes. I inject myself when I'm having a headache or about to have a headache, and it kind of hijacks the system. The other thing I can take is 15 milliliters of oxygen per minute, which I need a tank and I need a mask. So I'm going to work through the VA for that for cost reasons, because it sounds expensive and difficult to approve through insurance. So I'm going to try and work the VA for that. And then verapamil, I think is what the last one is the anti-seizure medication, which is pretty fucking gnarly and more for long term. Thankfully, whatever. These are seasonal. So it has something to do, this is really interesting to me, and I'm going to do a whole YouTube series on this. It has something to do with the shortening of the days.
Wow.
Yeah, not necessarily pressure and cold air and hot air. It's more about it's all of those things, but it's also a significant attribution to the shortening of the days, which is fascinating. It's like and then when you read about this stuff, dude, there's like we do not understand it because it's very rare. So, and I wish I could say I probably don't have it, but we've ruled out the sinus thing. So I had surgery, didn't work.
Dan, is there any, like, with it being the shortening of the days, is there any like light exposure element to this?
I'm glad you asked. This is fun. This is to talk to it. So 2 nights ago, I took vitamin D plus K2, 10,000 milligrams at night, and I slept okay. Now, I take that stuff pretty consistently, but I'm wondering if I take it again tonight, will it happen again? But again, it's so complex. Something might work one time, and absolutely be attributed to that thing. So the vitamin D absolutely could have helped, but this time it won't. So there's vitamin D. I've been being it tends to be when I get tired, my habits start to degrade. So normally I'm on top of my multivitamin, my magnesium, my vitamin D, my fish oil. But as I'm getting pain and I'm not sleeping, I'm like, oh, fuck it. I just need to sleep. So now I'm like, no, let's push through to use that adage. But let me be very consistent. Let's see if it's helping at all. And here's the tricky thing. The days are getting longer now, right? This time of year. So my headaches are changing. They're not as severe at night. And I say changing because now I'm getting them in the morning. So in addition to the night. There's another name for this, and I'm not going to say it because I know the algorithm doesn't like it. I want to just make less work for you. But let's say jumping over the cliff headaches. I'll say that. Yeah. Because people would rather jump over the cliff than deal with this pain. It's how bad it can get. And thankfully, that's been 3 weeks past. As I said, they've reduced in severity. I've also taken to wearing a full I don't have it on right here, respirator. because I suspect, and again, the triggers change. I suspect cold air is a trigger. I suspect VOCs from cooking are a trigger. So like I smoked the worst day I've had so far 3 weeks ago. I smoked a brisket. It came out. It was incredible. But there was an iron price that I paid. And the VOCs, I think, set me off really, really, really bad because it was at night. I started at night, cold air, VOCs. But this is, I think, what's going on. So anyway, all that to say, you can see this is dominating my attention right now.
Yeah.
And I'm training on my good days because I'm just such a zombie with my bad days. And I, at the very least, I try to do something, but I'm not worried about, oh, I got to hit 315 today. I'm not like trying to hit specific numbers. Right now, I'm just trying to not, because then what happens? What happens is I'll fail to hit that 315 and I'll be bummed. I'm not going to do that to myself. I'm just going to check the box right now. Maintenance mode. And then we'll get there. You know, I'll get there. This time next month, I'll be fine, I think. I hope.
Well, and you're bringing up a good point, which is I think that we tend to have, we meaning service members and veterans, a gravity toward extremes, right? And so we're either all in and we're doing all the things, or we're totally off.
That is
and
me.
Like, and yeah, you described that, right? Like, oh, I just need to push through. I'm just going to abandon all this stuff. And it's like, you know, somewhere in the middle lives, hey, I'm just going to touch some weights even if I don't max out today. Like, hey, I'm going to get a ride in, but I'm going to cut that ride a little bit short. Maybe not, you know, try to nail the 1,000 elevation or whatever it is. And then same thing even with like nutrition and vitamins and whatever else. Like, okay, so I missed one night or I missed one thing. It doesn't mean I have to totally abandon everything. But I feel like we're so used to that massive ebb and flow that becomes our comfort zone. And it's really not great for sustained, long-term, healthful outcomes.
You're right. There's a principle of 5 that Dan John has been noted to say, and he didn't come up with this. One of your workouts, have you heard of the 5 rule?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so I'll just say it for the audience. One of your workouts is going to be fucking epic, and if you worked out and trained like that every time, you'd be an Olympian. One workout is going to fucking suck. Throw it in the trash. You just didn't get what you wanted, and the other 3 are just checking the box, being consistent. And I think for me, that epic level, that's going to happen on my days where I don't feel like a zombie. And those days might not come. Right now it's about those 3. And that 4th one, being okay with that 4th one.
Yeah.
So it's just being realistic, man. This is something I've been reflecting on a lot for the past 2 days specifically. You and I and other people in the field, we deal in the orthopedic and the kinetic. And oftentimes there is a solution, even if it is a deep-seated complex condition, there is a solution for someone's knee pain, ankle pain, tendinopathy, whatever. And you can figure it out. You're dealing with neck pain, but it's driven by your ankle because your ankle's got no mobility or vice versa, whatever. Not so with this. This is pure neurological. And I have a choice. I can be a little bitch and cry about it and let my life fall apart and let it dictate the direction of my life, or learn how to live through and around it in a healthy way, because I know, at least for me, consistently with the past 6 years, there is a state of remission coming up, and I'll have my life back. So it is something I have to keep focused on. It's like, right now I'm in a lot of pain. I won't always be. What am I going back to, like that? Let's say being put in a senior leadership position. What's the lesson?
Yep. Well, and what's question for you? Sorry, I'm going the opposite direction.
No, good, man.
Is it worse this year than in the past? Or is it better? And if it is better, is it just because you've gotten more used to managing it?
It's so fuzzy. So I got surgery late last year, in the hopes that it would address this. And the gentleman, the ENT, awesome dude, said that we could generally expect not 100% improvement, 75% improvement. He was referring to my sinuses themselves, not my headaches. I thought my headaches were driven by because if you saw my MRI, I was fucked. It was bad. So it was like pretty close. Oh yeah, this is a sinus. It wasn't like, maybe it's a sinus. No, it looked like a sinus issue. So anyway, the first headaches that I had were minor. It's like, okay, but this isn't as bad as last year. Last year was really bad. I was like almost throwing up and stuff. So I have some improvement. And then brisket day, that was one of the worst ever. And if I had to say, there was no way that was a 75%. So it's hard to say if I'm better or not. I will say that structurally I am, because I have better drainage. Like before, dude, I can hear the sinus cavity on this side like start to close up because of the inflammation. Well, now I have more space. So there's that. So there is some kind of improvement. It's just very much a downstream effect. And I would say that it's very cyclical in that because I've affected downstream and it's cyclical, I've affected the upstream. I'm in not as much pain because it feels like it's shorter. That could also be because anyone in Arizona knows this. This winter has been very mild. So if it's a bad winter, I'll have a better idea if it's bad or not. I will say this, I feel more equipped because now I have a name to this potential condition, trigeminal autonomic cephalalgia. Like I didn't know that before. I didn't know when I'm reading these studies, I am laughing to myself. You know, Marines are very glib. So it is with most veterans. I'm laughing because I'm like, this is me. I'm a dumbass. Like when it's saying 4 to 9 years, like, yep, that's me. It's sinus, but they think it's a sinus issue. It's actually not. Yep, that's me. I'm Professor Dumbass here. So in that sense, I feel better equipped. And I do think, you know, what I also learned, especially in today's day and age, with all the information we have access to, the machine learning being such a help for me understanding and being able to ask questions that I wouldn't be able to even like think on. Like, you know, if you and I are having a conversation, I'm thinking, and you knew a lot about cluster headaches, I don't know what to ask you. I need time to think about it. So the nice thing is, like with machine learning, I can give it, okay, you just told me this. Let me think about that. Okay, what about, and then go ask for more information. So through that, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about what resources to turn to and what I should be listening to from a podcast standpoint. And from that standpoint, I feel this is one adage I learned. And this is nice. This is nice to know. Are cluster headaches and tacks the most painful human condition that you could potentially, and this is, by the way, above amputation as well. Are they the most painful condition a human can experience? Very likely, yes. However, also the most treatable. That makes me feel good.
That's definitely a silver lining, because before that, I was thinking the silver lining was that you nailed the fucking brisket. Like,
hey, I'm a fucking winner, man. I went to the ER. I don't know if I said that. I went to the fucking ER and came back and I fucking nailed it, dude. 10 out of 10. You've been talking about that brisket for years, as I will be. As I will be. Brisket's fucking great. Loved it.
Man, not that I needed a reason to get down there, but now I really need to get down there.
And
I'm like, hey, throw that respirator on, man, because I need some brisket.
Yeah. Have you had my pizza?
All I've had was you kick my ass in mountain biking, which I'm definitely down for another serving of that anytime.
I think we're on the opposite, sides of the coin now. Your ketchup, mustard. My mustard's a little old. Yeah. No, my pizza, man, that's something I'm very proud of as well. Meats and making Napoli style pizza. I freaking crush it, dude. I'm very proud of that. If there was a competition, I feel like I need to join competition. I don't know. Just to see.
Dude, do it. Do it.
Well, with a respirator.
I hope it's you with you know what though? I'll bring a crew. We'll have fans. You'll be the only person in the competition with fans.
There you go.
And
we'll record it. Yeah.
We'll all wear respirators. And we'll be like, respirators! Mount up.
They're going to think I spiked the meat with something.
I mean, if you know it's good for you, you will.
Yeah. Yeah. Right, secret ingredient. The love. Love is a secret ingredient.
Dude, that's right. That absolutely is. So when things get back to normal here, because they're heading that direction. Days are getting longer. We're moving the right direction. What do you got in store? What's on the horizon, if anything, from like a personal competition standpoint? Something you're looking forward to? What do you got?
Yeah. So I don't know how much your listeners know about me, but I worked for 10 years at a very high level for a private company called Exos. I did some pretty incredible things. And I've taken the opportunity to kind of like center myself and realize also the people there, I love them, but at the same time, if I said, hey man, we got to kick this door down, you know exactly what that means. If I said M134A minigun, you know what that means. Whereas for the people I was working with, they didn't know. I would have to explain myself very frequently, like, oh, here's what this unit does, here's their mission set, etc. And then I've been working with Softfleet now for the past few months on the Softfleet Performance Podcast as their host and as a consultant for, let's say, the back end of their platform. And dude, the first month, I'm like, wow, these are my people. I didn't realize how much I was trying to explain myself, almost like I was speaking this other language. But then when hanging out with these guys, I'm like, I don't have to explain myself at all. And it's just one of those things I didn't realize I was doing all the time. And so to that end, any organization I hitch my wagon to, so to speak, will be one that I don't have to explain myself to, because now I know that's possible. Like with yourself, like I know I don't have to explain myself to you, to people like Hunter. Oh my goodness, Vernon, man, I almost forgot. But people like that, like I don't have to explain myself. So I've learned, hey, the tactical military first responder space, that is me through and through. Even though I'm in Arizona, I'm not on the East Coast. This is still me.
Dude, anywhere, any setting where you can unapologetically be who you are.
Yeah.
That's home. That's home. That's what home is.
Yes. So further, I'll continue working with Softfleet. They got some things in the books that I'm super excited about being a part of. So that's coming. I can't say anything yet. In addition, one thing I'm very proud of personally, this is a personal goal of mine. And right now I'm working on a couple lectures, drafting and publishing for human kinetics, which is cool. But the thing I'm really excited about once this is done, because that's like, if creativity is a bucket, that bucket is being emptied for human kinetics right now. And the headaches not helping. I am writing a book. I'm 33% through fiction. And that is something I've always wanted to do. My wife pushed me to do it. Like, dude, what the hell are you doing? Get off your ass, start going to work. No, it's just, It's been a lifelong goal of mine, and I'm working on it. I'm chipping through. It's really exciting. It's really hard. And this is something we kind of danced around earlier, this idea of realization. For me, I think a big part of my psyche, my identity, is being a student and continuously learning, growing, being bad at something and getting better at it. Writing is that right now. So I think I've always been kind of a strong writer when it comes to philosophy and just like articulating my thoughts. But when it comes to something like pure from the ether, something that's never been written before, that is new. Understanding what an action beat is and how to write dialogue. These are skills I do not have. And I've been having a blast with that. It's really hard because I know enough to like know what's good.
Yeah.
Just like this is, you've heard me say this a million times. Be athletic, you know what that looks like, right? It's the same. Like I know bad writing when I see it. But to actually be a good writer, those two different things. So that's what's so hard about it, is sitting there, being consistent, writing in a way that makes sense. That's not, what's the word? This is the fatigue setting in. The slapdash. That's not slapdash and just thrown together. Because I think some people, and that's the other thing too, is learning how I write. There's no manual. I mean, there are manuals, but all the good manuals will tell you there's no manual. You have to figure out what your process is, and figuring out what my process is has been so fun, dude. Because like my wife wants me to just spit out a draft. I'm like, I don't work like that. It doesn't work like that for me.
Yeah.
And where I do my best work, it's not a finished draft. I'm not saying that. It's just my process is kind of a bit of Brandon Sanderson and how he's a gardener and outliner. And then Stephen King is completely from the ether. I try to blend the two, and it's just fun figuring that out. I'm a complete student, complete novice, and I'm having a blast. It's great.
Man, I wouldn't even know where to begin with something like that.
That's
like,
what I'm saying, man. It's so fun to like, I don't know.
Yeah, you're just like start from nothing. It's like starting from scratch.
And that's why I say ether, because there is I am not trying to, look, I haven't published anything yet, right? But it is magic. Stephen King would say it's magic, and Alan Moore would say you're a magician because you're creating something from nothing. And I think that's the coolest thing, dude. The coolest thing.
I can literally think of nothing cooler than that. And here, you are going to publish a work of fiction that will be the first work of fiction that I ever read as an adult, probably.
Wow. Well, I think you'll appreciate it. There's a lot of me in that book. I'll say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is from the perspective of a veteran, and it's meant to be. Well, here's the other cool thing. The thing I had so much fun with. I went in thinking this is going to be a fantasy book. It's going to take place during the industrial era. It's going to mix magic and science. There's going to be a conflict. It's contemporary. There's some horror elements, but it's contemporary. It takes some place between the 80s and early 2000s, and it's a neo-noir now. But it's pretty funny how I went in thinking I'm going to write this, and it's something completely different. And I'm having a blast. That whole aspect that came from my brain, dude. Like I didn't even like when I'm writing this stuff. I'm like, where's this stuff coming from? That's the cool part. It's weird and so much fun. Again, hard work, really hard work. I mean, I don't know and that's the other thing, dude. That's so much fun. Is like, I don't know if it's any good, but I'm like excited about that. which is weird.
It doesn't matter. You're in the process, right? Like
Yeah.
you're reaping benefits as you go. Probably as a byproduct of that, it will be good.
Yeah. Yeah. For somebody, and here's the other cool thing. There's enough people out there that somebody's going to love it.
Dude, that's what I have to, even with this podcast, was that I have to remind myself, right? Like, I won't think something of an episode, or, I worry about like, oh, how many views or whatever. Like, dude, if every few months one person throws something meaningful my way that they happen to pull out of something that a guest shared during the podcast, I'm like, that's enough to keep me going for another year.
Yeah, I'm with you there, man.
Just touch somebody.
Hey, I'm in the exact same boat. It's the same thing, dude. Yeah, because I had a friend. This is a good lesson. This is a good reminder for everybody. I told a friend, again, to use the word civilian at my former place of employment. Oh, what have you been up to? I've been hosting the Softly. What are you doing to grow it? What's your plan? What's your strategy? Like, bro, yo, chill. And he just would not fucking let it go. And it was kind of like, dude, it's not about that. I'm trying to be as authentic as possible, create the best product possible, period. Not what do I need to do to grow? Because I'm not trying to, and this is the lesson I learned from working at Exos. They're not my customer. The people who go there are not my customer in the sense like, Nate, I know you would take value out of listening to the Softly podcast, but my compatriots, and I love them to death, but they're just not going to get as much out of it because it's just not in their wheelhouse, so to speak. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
That's just it. It doesn't need to be for everybody, right? Like, I think as soon as you try to provide not even value for everyone, at that point, you're just trying to sell shit, right? So instead, if you're like, I know who I'm talking to, I know who I am, and you come across with that authenticity, then you're gonna be fine.
Yeah. And it's just a better product overall, right? I mean, that's why you're doing this.
100%.
Not to sell, it's to provide value to someone, whatever that value is for that person. That's, for me, that's enough. Like the sinusitis stuff and the cluster headaches, very specific. Most people would never experience that, but there's one person, 2 years from now, they're going to start having headaches, and hopefully they remember, oh, Giovani was talking about that.
Well, and I'll be honest, even if they don't, hopefully people, I'm sure they'll be able to look at that situation and see how it relates to something else that they're going through. And they're like, okay, shit, it's bad, but there is a string I can pull. There is something I can do. There is a way forward. And even if they don't feel equipped to have the answers, hopefully they're willing to like reach out to a coach, reach out to some professional in some lane who can provide some guidance that can keep them moving in the right direction instead of just wallowing in victimhood. Because holy shit, that's a bad place to be.
I think about it a lot, man. I think about, okay, there's this video. Hold on a second. My wife just got home from gymnastics. Did you hear any of that just now?
Not really.
Okay.
A little background, but
there's this video, this poor woman, where it's the view of the foot of her bed. So it's looking at her pillow, essentially. She shoots up out of bed instantly, grabs an empty metal bowl, starts hitting herself in the head. And then her husband grabs, I think, an oxygen mask and puts it on her face because she's having an episode. And I just think about when I was getting headaches that were, I'm not going to say they were bad enough to hit myself in the head. I don't know if I would have or not, because she's doing that because it causes a distraction, which is fucked up that I know what she's doing.
Yeah.
But I just think about, I can't fathom just moving around listlessly like a ghost and just kind of waiting for the next headache and that learned helplessness. Like I gotta be okay with knowing, yes, the headaches might come tonight, but there is a path forward. I can keep moving forward. Yeah. I don't know why I brought up that woman. I think it's just because I think about like, it could be worse. I wonder what it would be like if I got to that level. And dude, here's a fuck up thing that's in the back of my head is like, it could get that worse. It could like 10 years from now be at that state.
Yeah. But it could also go the other direction.
Yes.
And
100%.
Like a solution could be found, or with all the experimentation that you're going through with trying to figure out how to mitigate it, you might figure out a way to keep them, at a 5 instead of a fucking 13 out of 10.
Yeah. Well, like one thing I learned, this is good for anybody to know if they're dealing with a trigeminal headache. I've learned that if I get it right, timing wise, if I get to it fast enough, if I give myself a brain freeze on purpose, the trigeminal nerve is above the roof of the mouth, I can kind of hijack that and hit a reset button. So if you came in my house at the right time of night, you would see me fucking dancing around because I have ice at the roof of my mouth, and like I'm like riding the wave, so to speak, in a battle against myself. Cold showers too.
Yeah, I'd rather see that than you hitting yourself in the head with the
yes.
fan, so.
Yeah.
So I guess kind of to wrap things up, I've been sort of closing the podcast just by asking folks, hey, for folks who are out there, I would say this for you, for people who are maybe forgetting what it means to touch the sun, what would be your advice to them to help them reconnect with that portion of themselves?
I love that okay. I was thinking about it this afternoon. I say this a lot. Man was meant to seek comfort. We were never meant to obtain it, but we are an ingenious species. We figured out a way. But again, we were not meant to obtain it. So I think on that often. If you remember, Nate, there was a time where if you walked into my house, which I think was after, because my son was born when you came to my house, we did not have a couch. I had a Kaiser squat rack in my living room, and there was nowhere to sit. You had to sit on the floor. And the reason for that is because if you sat on the floor for an extended amount of time, let's say 30 minutes, you're probably going to move around a little bit. Whereas the couch is very easy. And I have a couch now, but you're going to sink in there and be in the static position. That is a position we made up. Like we found it. We found a way to be comfortable. We found a way to reduce control the temperature in the house, to control the temperature of the water, to entertain ourselves consistently, because we're not comfortable being bored. So I just say that it's something I think about all the time. We were meant to seek comfort, not obtain it. So in that sense, from that standpoint, discomfort can be a good thing. To be bored is a good thing. To be uncomfortable is a good thing, because that means you have to move. So that's what I'll share. Don't get comfortable.
Absolutely love that. I think there's no better way to close this out. Giovani, I can't thank you enough for the time today, especially given this shit that you're dealing with right now. Hate that you're going through it, but also greatly appreciate your willingness to share it. And I look forward to hearing about that situation getting better, because I think you're going to figure something out.
Yeah. No, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's a good one.
Sure as hell hope so, my friend.